Hello, my lovelies. How are you guys doing? So, in today's video, I'm talking about how to set the right foundation for your life in your 20s. Now, 20s are a confusing period, right? So, in your early 20s, you're right out of college and you're trying to figure out your place in the world. It's a very confusing time. In your mid 20s, you start making a little bit of money, but you're still struggling financially and you want to figure out how to make the best of your life. And then by the time that you get to your late 20s, you've figured out a couple of things career wise. Maybe you are in a relationship and you are figuring things out relationship wise. And maybe you are deciding to get married. So the entire decade of your 20s is like a roller coaster ride. There are high highs, there are low lows, and you're still trying to figure out who you are amongst this. So this video is like a guide to life to help nudge you in the right direction. No matter at what stage of your 20s you're in, whether you're in your early 20s or your late 20s, whenever you watch this, it's like a crash course on Adulting 101 that if you implement, you will be able to have a much more fulfilling experience in your 30s and your 40s. So I'm going to be touching upon 5 aspects of your life that make for a holistic life, which is your lifestyle, your mindset, your relationships, your work, and your finances. And if you work on all of these during this decade of your 20s, you can ensure that you have a much smoother, a much more comfortable life in your 30s and your 40s. So make sure you are taking notes and make sure you do the homework that I have for you at the end of the video, because that will ensure that you're able to implement these aspects in your life one by one without getting overwhelmed and without feeling like it is too much to do. Let's begin. The first aspect that we are focusing on is your lifestyle. Now, the habits that you build in your 20s determine the kind of lifestyle you have in your 30s. And everybody, all of us, have a vision of the kind of life we want to live. One really helpful practice that I have for this is sitting down and imagining what I want a day in my life to look like 5 years from now or 10 years from now. And when I have clarity on what I want my day to look like, what time I'm waking up, who am I sitting next to, what kind of work am I doing, what is my time filled with, all of those things help me determine what I want to focus on in my lifestyle right now. So that is one thing that I would suggest that you do as well. But apart from that, here are a few basics of your lifestyle that you need to sort out, no questions asked, in your 20s so that you can live a healthy, fulfilling life in your 30s. The first is exercise. Go to the gym, join a dance class, join a community activity, join an aerobics class or Zumba. Whatever it is that gets you moving every single day is so important. Now, when we're in school, when we're in college, a lot of the movement comes from, going to school, playing in the playground. Even in college, a lot of people have sports as hobbies and fun activities. But as you start working and as your lifestyle starts to get more sedentary, movement sort of leaves the building. And we don't want that. We want to ensure that we are continuously moving your body, because what that does is it sets your standard for your metabolism, for your fat storage, for how your organs react to different foods and different movements. And if you start building a sedentary lifestyle in your early 20s, in your mid 20s, it will be very difficult for you to get up off your ass and do workout when you actually need to in your 30s and your 40s. Don't get to that stage. Start working out, start focusing on your fitness right now. The second one, of course, is your diet. Now, most of us in our early 20s and our mid 20s are party people. We go out eating with friends, drinking with friends. We eat a lot of junk food, especially when you're going to college and later then to office. Unhealthy food is very easily accessible. It's very easily available. And it's, of course, a lot tastier than healthy food. So choosing healthy food is often the difficult choice to make. But you know what they say about difficult choices. If you choose things that are more difficult in the short term, that gives you better results in the long term. So I want you to start taking one meal a day in your life seriously, where you have enough protein, enough veggies, a little bit of carbs, a little bit of healthy fats to ensure that you have a complete meal going on, and slowly build that up to where you are having 3 healthy meals a day. The next one, of course, is sleep. And I've spoken about this multiple times in multiple videos. If you have your sleep schedule sorted, half the health problems in your life will automatically go away. Your body requires sleep to recover, to rejuvenate, to heal, to grow. And if you're not giving it enough sleep, it is not able to function optimally. And the more fucked up your sleep gets as you grow older, the results compound, and then they result in all sorts of problems in all sorts of areas. So if there is one thing you do for bettering your lifestyle today, start by fixing your sleep. The next aspect of your lifestyle that I want you to focus on is your hobbies. Now, when you're in school and college, hobbies come very naturally to us because we dedicate time to them. But as you start working, as you start going to office or start having your own work set up, you will find that you have less and less time for your hobbies. Then eventually, one day, you're just sitting there trying to figure out, why did I stop painting? Now it's completely okay for your hobbies to evolve over time, to change over time, and to have different hobbies at different stages of life. but it's important to have hobbies. They are like your time away from everything else. They're a tool of decompression. And if you start focusing on them right in your 20s, and if you start dedicating time to hobbies right in your 20s, when you're in your 30s and your 40s, you will always have time and space, something that you do for yourself apart from everything else that brings you joy. And we want to focus on joy. The next one, my friends, is your appearance. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do a full face of makeup every day or invest in the most expensive clothes or the most expensive jewelry or most expensive skincare. What I mean by appearance is making an effort to look good for yourself and for the people who are around you. Let's face it, appearances matter. The way people perceive us when we look good matters. It gives you an edge over everything else. But apart from that, when you put in an effort to look good for yourself, it makes you feel good. It makes you associate positive qualities with yourself. And you carry that forward, you carry that energy forward into everything that you do. So staying well groomed, keeping your hair on point, keeping your skincare on point, doing basic grooming, all of that is super, super important. So make sure you invest time in yourself to make yourself look good. And if you start doing that right now, it will become a habit by the time that you're in your 30s, and it will not feel like an effort anymore. The next one is self-sufficiency. Knowing how to cook a basic meal, knowing how to do basic repairs around the house, basic first aid, 8th-class biology lessons. All of this stuff comes in so handy when you start depending on yourself as the adult instead of depending on the other adults in your life. And when you start to do that, you will realize that having this independence, having knowledge of these basic skills, being self-sufficient is so empowering and it's so liberating because you don't have to depend on anybody else for your basic survival. The next one is falling in love with learning. Now, you must have seen, older people in your own house, your dadas and dadis. If there is something new that comes about, it takes them a very, very long time to learn how to navigate that space. Technology, for example. And that happens because as we grow older, we become less and less inclined towards learning new things. One of the best ways to keep yourself mentally fit and active is to learn new things. And that cannot happen if you haven't built that habit in your 20s. So one thing that I suggest to every person who is in their 20s who comes to me is to fall in love with learning. Spend time every week, every month to try and learn a new skill, a new little something that will help push the envelope for you mentally, so that by the time that you're in your 30s, you already enjoy the process so much that it doesn't feel like a burden. And finally, you want to learn how to spend time alone, how to be by yourself, how to love your own company. And this is important one because it is a self-discovery process. It allows you to figure out what it is that you truly like doing in the absence of other people, when you are just by yourself, who you truly are in that time. And spending more time alone in your 20s also helps you learn how to spend more time by yourself. Because as you can see on this graph, the time that you spend with yourself keeps increasing till the time that you die. So you are the only person truly who is going to be with themselves throughout your entire life. And if you don't know how to do that, if you don't know how to be by yourself, it's going to be a very difficult ride, my friends. So now we come to the next section, which is your mindset. The mindsets that you build in your 20s carry you forward in your 30s and your 40s. They cement your belief system, they determine how you act, they determine what direction your life goes in. And if you have negative mindsets, if you have mindsets that don't support your own growth, you will have a very tough time when you get older. So this is something that you want to set the foundation for right in your 20s or right whenever you are watching this video. As soon as you're done watching it, I want you to start focusing on building the right mindset so that you have a beautiful rest of your life. The first one is learning how to commit. Now, there's a very famous quote or slogan that goes 99% is a bitch and 100% is a breeze. It's from this book called The Success Principles. And what this means is that when you commit to doing something 100%, when something becomes non-negotiable, it often becomes very easy to do. As opposed to when you commit to doing something halfway or when it's 99%, it's always going to be difficult to follow through. Once you fundamentally understand this, I know like my life has changed once I fundamentally understood this. Once you commit to doing things 100%, giving it your best 100% effort, you will realize that giving that 100% is actually not very difficult because it is the only path that your mind sees. It doesn't have to continuously juggle between decisions, and that is why decision making becomes so much easier. So if there is one mindset that you focus on in your 20s, or if you start focusing on right now, it should be this. Learn how to commit to something 100%. The next thing that you want to do is develop critical thinking. And you do that by questioning everything that you come across, everything that you see, every piece of information that you see, read, hear, watch on TV. Instead of taking it blindly all in, including this video, question it. Why is this important? How is this important for me? Does it apply to my life? How can I implement this in my life? Will it impact me if I implement this in my life? All of these questions, how, what, where, when, why, the 4 W's in one H, ask this for every single piece of information that you think has the potential to impact your life. And that is how you develop critical thinking. That is how you develop multiple perspectives. And as you grow older, all of these perspectives help you become a better decision maker. The next thing you want to do is put practices in place that will help you cope with stress and stressors. For me, this is gratitude journaling and meditating right in the morning, because that sets the tone for my entire day and helps me cope with anything that comes along, because it puts me in the right frame of mind. So figure out what these practices are for you. For a lot of people, they're the practices that I've spoken about because they actually work. But if not, if let's say walking is that practice for you, you need to start doing that every single day so that you have one outlet that helps you process stressors in a healthy way without unleashing your kraken on other people or on yourself and just eating yourself up with stress. Yeah. Okay. The next thing that you want to do is practice delayed gratification. Now, we live in the era of constant, instant gratification, right? So the moment I'm bored, I'll open my phone and start scrolling. The moment I feel like eating something, I will open Swiggy and order the first thing that catches my attention. And what this does is it puts our mind in a negative reward cycle. Basically, we get so addicted to this constant gratification process that when it comes to things that truly matter, things such as relationships, things such as work, we cannot deal with the fact that not all rewards come instantly. So if you are working, for example, you will not be promoted to manager in a day. If you're in a relationship, it's not going to lead to something serious in a day, in an instant. And because we are in that negative reward cycle, our brain is not used to handling this delay in gratification and getting the reward later on. That just fucks up our entire life cycle. And we don't want to do that, which is why we need to practice delayed gratification. The next thing you want to do is practice conscious consumption. Again, we're living in the era of consumption. Anything that we want is available constantly. And that is not a good thing for your mental health, for your physical health, for your entire ecosystem that you're living in. And because everything is coming to us, bombarding us, we need to put filters, we need to put blinders so that we are not constantly surrounded by things that can consume us before we consume them. So whether it involves putting timers, whether it involves deleting social media off your phone, whatever it is, the practice that you need to put in place to ensure that you're not constantly consuming information after information, you need to do that. And the next thing, and this is a big one, is prioritizing joy and fulfillment. Now, because we live in the era of constant consumption, in your 20s, when you look at other people growing and thriving in life, it becomes very easy to fall into the trap of comparison. It becomes very easy to fall into the trap of negative hustle or like overworking and just constantly chasing one goal after the other without really realizing why you are doing it. And I have been in that cycle. I have chased after goals that I didn't really want to just because it felt right at the time. And this happens because I wasn't prioritizing my own joy and fulfillment. I wasn't looking at things from this perspective. Do they bring me fulfillment? Do they bring me happiness? If I just answered those two questions before putting my foot into anything, it would have actually led to a very smooth time in my 20s as well. There's this book called The Top 5 Regrets of Dying, and one of the top regrets in that book is people not prioritizing their own happiness. And this is because, like, when you're on your deathbed, you will realize that a lot of your happiness is actually in your hands. It's here. It's not in your surroundings, and you control a lot of what goes on in here. So you want to start prioritizing your happiness. And the sooner you start doing it, the easier that habit becomes as you grow older. And you know what your priorities are or where your priorities lie. The next thing you want to do is get out of your comfort zone as much as possible. Now, I follow Naval Ravikant's principle here, which is choose the thing that is more difficult in the short term because that is more likely to give you the best returns in the long term. So we are playing the long game, which is also a part of your delayed gratification process, right? Not everything is instant. If I want the next 2 decades of my life to be the absolute best, I need to put in effort right now. So this is the principle that I personally follow, and when I look at everything from this lens, it actually becomes really easy to choose, what to do and what not to do, and how I can push the envelope and go out of my comfort zone. To give you an example, I started out creating content with photos, with graphic, because I was a very still image person, and it was so difficult to get into the video space. And now when I look back at my older videos, I cringe a lot. But when I look at my newer videos, I cannot fathom the fact that this is the same person who's making this video who also made this video. So that's how compounding works. That is how pushing yourself out of your comfort zone works. It was super uncomfortable for me to make videos initially, but now it's almost like second nature, my friend. The next one is self-soothing. As you grow older, you are invariably going to face tough situations in life, and you're invariably going to face them alone. Not because of lack of people in your life, but just because of how the situation is designed. Not everything can be done with other people, which is why you need to know how to manage your emotions, to manage your stressors, to manage yourself, to calm yourself down whenever you're facing a situation like this. Because you might not always have somebody to rely on. It's very good to have somebody to rely on, but it's also very important to know how to do it by yourself, so that if you are facing situations like this alone, you are not overwhelmed and on the brink of breaking. The next one, and this is a very important skill again, is impulse control. Instead of giving in to every single impulse that you have, learn to control it. Again, we come back to the point of delayed gratification, because all of this ties in with that. You do not have to give in to every impulse that you have. You do not have to go after every girl that you see, or you don't have to go after every guy that you see. You don't have to eat that chocolate every time that you see it. The better you become at controlling your impulses, or not giving in to every women fancy that your brain has, the lesser willpower you will have to execute on controlling your impulses as you move forward in life. Okay, got it? And the final one in your mindset section is learning how to prioritize. The older you get, the fuller your life becomes of people, of things, of situations that need to be met, that need to be handled, that need to be done. And if everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. So the Eisenhower matrix, which divides tasks into important and urgent, I'm putting this on screen right now. Learn how to use this initially to figure out how to divide tasks in your day, tasks in your life into urgent and important, and to go after things that are also important, not just urgent, right? If you don't learn how to do that, and I have struggled with this for a long time, you will end up making everything a priority, and that deprioritizes everything. You will not be able to do the things that you really want to do. Again, I'm speaking from personal experience, and it's taken me a very long time to get out of this. I still struggle with prioritizing things, and it just makes everyday, day-to-day living very difficult and stressful. You don't want to do that. Now we come to our next section, which is relationships. How do you set the right foundation in your 20s for more fulfilling, beautiful relationships in your 30s and your 40s? And this does not just apply to romantic relationships, but also your work relationships, also your friendships, your relationship with your family, everything, all encompassing. The first thing, and this is something that I don't see a lot of people doing, is making an effort in your relationships. And I see so many people just being half-hearted when it comes to their relationships with their partners, with their friends, with their family members, because they're too afraid of getting hurt. If you don't commit 100% to this, and we go back to 99% is a bitch and 100% is a breeze, it is always going to be difficult. Every relationship is difficult by default because you are having to adjust with another person. But if you're not putting in the effort, you cannot expect it to blossom into something beautiful. Everything worthwhile in this life takes effort, takes hard work, and that is true for relationships as well. Love deeply, invest time and effort into your relationships. More often than not, it will lead to beautiful, unbreakable bonds in the future. And in case they don't, in case that leads to failed friendships or failed relationships, it will leave you a better person, a person with more understanding of the human nature, a person with more understanding of themselves. And that's always a beautiful journey to embark upon. The second is express your feelings. Again, from this book, The Regrets of the Dying, this is also one of the top regrets, is that people don't express their feelings, both the good and the bad. Of course, there's a good way to do it. There's a kind and empathetic way to do this. So make sure you choose that path, even if you're expressing bad feelings or hurtful feelings. But if you keep it all bottled up inside, it's going to eat you up, and it's going to be an unnecessary stressor in your life. And if people are carrying it to their deathbeds, you can imagine how long that regret can last you. And we don't want to live a life full of regrets. So express your feelings. Do it nicely, but express them. The next one is practicing empathy and kindness instead of being stuck in a constant loop of comparison and competitiveness. It's very important to understand that even though we are our own world, the entire world does not revolve around us. Everyone has their own demons to fight. Everyone is battling something that we don't know about. And if we keep this in mind, whenever we are approaching someone, whenever somebody is approaching us, whenever we are approaching any situation, it just makes the world a much better place to exist in. And if we all collectively do this, you can imagine how beautiful the coming generations can be. And the more you look at people from the lens of empathy and kindness, you will see that you don't compete with them as much. You don't compare yourself, your life to others as much. And what that ends up doing is helping you find more allies than threats in this world, helping you see people as allies. And having allies is always a good thing. The next one is creating better boundaries. Now, while being kind and empathetic is important, that does not mean that you let people walk all over you. That does not mean that you let other people have more control over your time and energy than you do yourself. Everything that you want to do in your life is a result of the time and energy that you have. And if you are not protective about it, if you don't invest it in the things that you want to do and rather just waste it trying to please other people, trying to accommodate other people's needs and wants, you will see that you have less and less time and energy for the things that you want to do. And this is where boundaries come in. Again, I've made a video on this, so you will want to go check that out, because I've spoken about how to create boundaries with your family and your friends and people who are close to you, because that is where it is most important, my friend. And the sooner you learn how to do this, the better and the smoother your life becomes going forward. The next one is meeting and interacting with as many people as you can, especially in your 20s. This is so true in your 20s, because the older you grow, the more you will realize that you want a smaller and smaller circle of friends. You only want people around you that help lift you up. But having that circle or building that circle is not really possible if you don't meet enough people, if you don't meet enough people to figure out who should be a part of your circle in the first place. Meeting and interacting with people is one of the best ways to learn about the world, to learn about how to deal with people, because all of what life is dealing with people, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's in your work setups. Everything that you do is a direct result of how you deal with yourself and with people. So, and you can't do that if you're not meeting or interacting with enough people. If you learn how to do this right, it builds an unbreakable network. And I'm not saying that you go do this with the ulterior motive of building a network, but it automatically happens. It's a byproduct of meeting and interacting with people, of being friends with as many people as you can be. And that network can last you a lifetime. The reason that people go to B schools or like business schools, the reason that people go to B schools is not to study, is to build an unbreakable network. So you know how valuable networks can be. And the more you open yourself up to meeting other people, to interacting with other people, the more solid your network becomes. The next thing is understand that fundamentally nobody has shit all figured out, including me, including your parents, including your grandparents. Everybody is just fumbling around in the dark trying to figure out their next step. And so are you, which is why it is okay if it feels like, you're not on solid ground, if you feel like other people have things figured out and you don't. People might be a few steps ahead of you, but that does not mean that they have life figured out. And I love coming back to this point again and again, because it's a very comforting feeling. It tells you, one, that you're not alone in this world, you're not the only one who doesn't have shit figured out, and that other people also make mistakes. And it makes everybody seem more human. And I absolutely love that. The next one, and again, I think this is very, very fundamental in building more empathetic, more resilient human beings, is dating in your 20s. And by dating, I don't mean you date to settle down right now, or you date to continuously keep hooking up, but date to know how relationships work, how you work, what you want in relationships, what other people want in relationships, what you want in a partner going forward. All of those things you cannot figure out just by spending time alone and then reaching one point suddenly deciding to get married. Healthy dating can be such a game changer. It can develop your whole personality. It can help bring out the best in you if you find the right people. And that is why figuring out who you want to be with and the kind of partner you want to be with. It's like what Shah Rukh Khan says in Dear Zindagi to Alia Bhatt, that you don't have to settle with the first person that comes across your life, but you need to figure out what you want with life. And that often can't happen unless you have gone through the motions of dating. Now we come to the next section, which is greater success, or basically your work life. And all of the pointers that I'm sharing in this section are a direct result of the observations that I've made about 20-year-olds after working with them in the past couple of years, like people in their early 20s, and what that has led to. And if you fix these in your early 20s, girl, guy, you are going to have a beautiful career trajectory, upward career trajectory. If you don't fix these problems are going to come back and like bite you in the ass when you are somewhere up there, and that is not what you want in life. The first one is learning how to negotiate. You negotiate everything from the time you spend working to your vacation days to your salary to how much work you take on. And if you don't know how to negotiate it right, you are always going to be at the back end or the receiving end of things. One book I suggest to everybody who wants to learn how to negotiate is Never Split the Difference. You can go read a summary of it first and then read the actual book, because the actual book is a lot more full of stories and the points are like interspersed in between. So read the summary first, then go read the actual book, and you will be better off. And take notes. The next thing you want to do is learn how to take criticism and feedback. You don't have to quit at the first altercation. If you don't take criticism, if you think you're the smartest person in the room, you're never going to have room to grow, to learn, to become a better version of yourself. Criticism can more often than not help you become better at what you are doing. But yes, you also need to learn what criticism to take and what to ignore. So these are very, very fundamental qualities that you need to build if you are starting to work in your 20s. Next one is learning how to communicate efficiently. There is a different sort of decorum for professional communication. There's a different decorum for personal communication. Try not to intermingle the two. Try to have a separate boundary for professional communication so that when you're communicating with your colleagues, it's effective, it's efficient, and it doesn't cross over to your personal space. So very important to learn how to do that. And the next one is owning up to your mistakes instead of deflecting the first chance that you get. Owning up to your mistakes makes you more endearing. It makes you appear more humane to the other person. And if you own up to it and you promise not to do it again, especially in the professional space, you will see that people are a lot more forgiving, and that gives you more room to grow, more chance to express yourself better in the professional space. Don't just deflect responsibility, don't deflect mistakes, don't run away and try to hide your mistakes. Own up to them, learn from them, and move on. The next one, and I know I will get a little bit of flack for this, is getting a job. I suggest that everybody who's in their early 20s work at a job for at least some period of time, because it teaches you so many important things that take a lot of time to learn if you start out working by yourself. Things like how to build a network, things like how to work in a team, things like how to manage people, because a lot of managers that I see at present are very, very young people. So these skills, when you go do them in a job, become a lot more easier to learn because you're doing them at somebody else's expense and not your own. And all of that time that you invest can actually help you if going forward you want to do something of your own. So get a job, do it for a few years, learn the necessary skills, and then push off on your own trajectory if that's what you really want to do. The next one, and this is so important and something that people don't do at all, is adhering to deadlines. Stick to the timelines, bro. Like, if you said that you'll finish a task at XYZ time, finish it and give it. Don't procrastinate, don't ponder it down, don't leave it till the last minute, because that reflects so much on your character, on your work ethic, and going forward it only builds in that direction, right? So if you start missing deadlines now, if there are fewer repercussions right now, you will think it's okay to miss deadlines, and you'll continue doing that till it leads to like a blowout and you not having a job anymore. So you don't want to do that. And of course, you want to learn how to write decent emails and learn how to create professional resumes. The number of people who apply to gigs with half-baked, half-assed resumes is just insane. You are rejected at first sight, no matter whether you're applying for a freelance gig or you're applying for, a full-time job. If you don't have the right resume, and if you don't know how to pitch yourself, or if you don't know how to write a proper email, nobody is going to want to work with you. Don't do that. Now we come to our final section, which is entering your rich girl or your rich boy era. I'm sure you've seen enough financial content to know that the earlier you start getting a handle on your finances, the better it is for your future self. So in this video, we're just going to do a quick overview of the basic skills that you need to build as soon as possible in life so that you can have a more comfortable life going forward. The first one is building an abundance mindset. And I repeatedly say this, mindset is everything. The mindset that you have about money determines how much of it you have, how much of it you save, how much of it you spend, how you spend your money. All of those things are just determined by how you think about money, fundamentally the beliefs that you have about money. And this book is something that I recommend to everybody who's starting to want to build a better money mindset. because it will change how you think about money. It will make you realize that everything growing up actually led you to have all of the belief system that you have right now. So start by reading this book. And what I have done to build an abundance mindset is actually start working with affirmations and with a lot of gratitude journaling in terms of my finances, setting a lot of financial goals in my life that I want to achieve, so that I know that, this is possible, this is plausible, I can get here, and that spending money does not always have to come with negative connotations. A lot of people I know have grown up with this belief, this mindset that spending money will make them go broke, or that they will never have enough in life. And that mindset actually determines all of our actions going forward, and we don't want to do that. So if these are practices that help you, the ones that I just discussed, you can start with that, but I would definitely suggest that you start with this book. The second thing that you need to do is live below your means. पैर उतने ही पसारो जितनी चादर है. And I can tell you this from experience that I have gone overboard in terms of spending on credit cards and then accumulating credit card debt and then having such a tough time paying it off, that I don't want you to get stuck in that loop. Having credit cards, spending on credit cards is actually not a bad thing if you know how to do it right, if you pay on time, and if you spend below your means. So now, to ensure that I'm always spending within my means, I have put a system in place. Basically, anytime I get any payment, I have decided a set percentage. So a set percentage of that income goes to my investment portfolio, a set percentage of that income goes to my savings portfolio, and then whatever money I'm left with, that is the money that I spend. So now I don't have to take the headache of budgeting alag se, I don't have to take the headache of, sitting every day with spreadsheets. It just makes life a lot easier for me, and this so far has been working for me. So if you want to try that out, here's a game plan that I just gave you. The next one, and this is one of the best things that you can do in your 20s, is put in efforts to diversify your income streams. So for instance, if you have a job, make an effort to freelance, figure out how you can do a little bit of a side hustle, because the more income streams that you have going forward, the better your financial situation is going to be. Yes, saving is important. Yes, investing is important. But if you're making only this much, usi mein se save or invest tum kar rahe ho, right? If you're not making enough to save big bucks or invest big bucks, that is not really making a dent in your financial situation. So you also want to continuously, while saving and investing, continuously think about how you can increase your income, and diversifying your income streams is a great way to do that. For instance, I started working as a journalist. Times of India, they used to pay peanuts, 20,000 rupees a month, which in a city like Delhi is not enough. So ever since like my first job, I have been freelancing. I used to do graphic designing back then. Then I switched to video editing, and now all of that freelancing is actually what has led me to this stage in life where I'm creating YouTube videos. So there you have it. The next thing, and this is like a no-brainer, is learning how to invest. Now, this is super important because most of us don't know. We just blindly go listen to somebody, a bank official or a friend, and we'll invest on their advice and then end up losing money. So you don't want to do that. Spend a little bit of time going through financial assets. So a lot of these apps that are there in the market, like Zerodha, IND Money, they actually have classes on how to start investing. So like the basics, they can help you get sorted. You can start there. You can start by listening to the Financial Feminist podcast, because that gives you a very basic game plan on how to start your financial journey. There are books on financing, there are books on investing. So spend a little bit of time every week or every month learning how to invest properly, so that you're able to do this right instead of just shooting in the dark. The next one is having 3 separate bank accounts. And I absolutely love this hack because I use one account for my spending. So anything that goes into my investment portfolio goes from this account. Anything that I spend on a day-to-day basis goes from this account. Then I have one account to save in, right? So this account basically has my emergency fund, any liquid funds that I might need on a short-term notice. And then finally, I have a goal-based saving account. So what ICICI Bank does, it allows you to have this I wish goal-based saving, this thing that has a higher interest rate. So basically money that you put in it can be saved towards a goal. So let's say I want to buy an iPad tomorrow. I'll put money in this and I will put money in this towards an iPad. And when I have enough money, it's also giving me a higher interest rate. I will just take it out and use it to purchase that, or I can use it for travel, whatever goal that I have. And this actually sorts you out quite a bit in terms of your finances. So one hack that I had. And finally, you want to start focusing on your basic financial skills. How to write a check, how to navigate your way through a bank, how to budget, how to do your taxes, like the basics of it. You don't have to be an expert in every single thing, but knowing your basics will ensure that nobody is able to make a fool out of you, essentially. So those were our 5 sections, and this video has turned out to be super long. So kudos to you if you stuck around till the end and if you took notes for everything. Now we come to the homework, my friend. So I really want you to start implementing these in your life if you are in your 20s, at any stage in your 20s, right? So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to pick out one habit from all of like these 25, 30 habits that I've discussed in this video. Pick one that you have not started implementing, that you want to start implementing in your life. And then you're going to pick one aspect from your environment and one aspect from your mindset that you need to work on to ensure that you are able to put this habit into place. I've spoken about this in this particular video, so go check this video out. Start building on one habit from this video. The second thing I want you to do is listen to these two podcasts. This one will help you fix your nutrition, your diet. This one will help you fix your finances. So that's your homework for this week. I will see you guys in the next video next week. So make sure you subscribe and have a lovely day. Bye.